Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Well, hello everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm still like a bit of gobsmacked. Everyone, Liberty people surprise me. They really do. Let's do the YouTuber stuff and then we will do the introduction. Though I think most of you who are joining live probably know what this is all about, but in the future, people will not. So I would appreciate a subscribe or a like, but you can wait till the end to subscribe, particularly if you're new. It's like I haven't given you any reason to subscribe yet, except for my awesome pink hair. But it is kind of faded though. So maybe wait till the end, but please do give a subscribe or you'll make baby Jesus cry. You can also follow me on Twitter, where a lot of this happened, though. Actually, I think it primarily happened on Faceboomer, and I'm not a member of, well, I technically have an account over there because I still use direct messages, but I don't deal with Faceboomer anymore. But I am on Twitter, would appreciate a follow over there. I do follow everyone back. I don't judge other people who don't do that, but those are my rules of engagement. That if you deem me worthy of a follow, I deem you worthy of a follow. It's a reciprocal arrangement. And last but not least, I only can do this work because of my patrons. So patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. I do need to update my ending screen. I received a new patron yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, a $5 a month patron. I really appreciate it. It so helps. And apparently, I am now monetized on Twitter. Now, I don't have that big of a reach on Twitter, so can I cuss yet? I don't really care. I don't make monetization on YouTube. Listen, you make about $5 a month now, a channel my size, when you're dealing with that. So yeah, I'll make about $0.25 a month on Twitter for all of my shit posting. So there we go. So what is this about? First of all, let me say, I'm not a mild figure. If people want to find something to complain about with me or to criticize, I give you plenty of real material. You don't have to make things up. So when I see these manufactured controversies that aren't just manufactured, they're like outright lies, I'm just like, make it make sense. So what are we talking about here? We are talking here about, dun dun dun, the great controversy that the LNC Secretary dared to ask a question on the Roberts Forum, which must mean that I have some dastardly plan. Now, I was going to put screenshots and all of that up, but those of you who want to see them, you know where they're at. I don't want to mention people's names. We'll just talk about a concept. So let's go to the Roberts Forum itself so you can see what triggered everyone. But first of all, let's get this out front. Even my detractors, most of them I think will admit that I'm not like so stupid I walk into walls face first. If I had some secret dastardly plan, one thing I would be sure to do with my secret dastardly plan is, hold on, this is a shocker, keep it secret. That is number one in secretly dastardly plans. I mean, you have to have a plan, and it has to be dastardly. But the secret part is the most important part of the secret dastardly plan. Do you remember that Seinfeld clip where he was at the reservation desk and the lady was like, we have your reservation, but we don't have your car. And he was like, anyone can take reservations. It's keeping the car. That's the most important thing. Well, the most important thing in a secret plot isn't the plot. It's the secret part. So anyway, I'm a bit smarter than that if I had some dastard, which I don't, but of course I would tell you I don't if I did. That's kind of part of the whole thing. So whatever, I don't, believe that or not. But one thing I would not do is give notice of my secret dastardly plan on a public Robert's Rules of Order forum that has a lot of LP members that frequent it. Alicia Matson is a member there. Joshua Katz is a member there. A ton of people read that forum regularly, and I applaud that. That would be the worst secret plan ever. So let's go look at my secret plan, shall we? That I published for everyone to see, because I'm just that big of a dumbass. So let me find it. And hold on one sec. I did get to that screen. Let's share the screen. And I'm going to try to be fair to the critics here in some ways. So here's the screen. So you can find this official forum. Just look up Robert's Rules Forum Flash in a Google search and it will take you right here. But here is the thread in question. I mean, I didn't even do it under a fake name. Like, really, worst secret plan ever. So the title of the thread is De-credentialing Convention Delegates. I want to put my face on the screen here. So we're not just looking at a screen. Let me make myself smaller. Now, here's where I'm going to be a little bit fair. If you were a suspicious person, which I am, and which most libertarians are, and you happened not to care for me, I can see why just that title would cause your eyebrows to raise. I could completely understand that. You say, oh my God, this person I don't like and I don't trust for whatever reason just started a discussion on de-credentialing convention delegates. If that's all you saw and you didn't read the rest of it, I would not blame you for being like, what's going on here? But then it's incumbent upon you, before you make public insinuations, and I don't buy the just asking questions thing. When you're someone who has made your position known, it would be like, it's like when Reason Magazine does those titles where they do it in the form of a question for plausible deniability. I'm not saying you beat your wife. I'm just asking if you stopped. I mean, come on. Nobody buys that. Tell the truth, Pinocchio. So, okay. So now you see the title, and I don't blame people at first, particularly libertarians who are by nature suspicious, including myself, from seeing that title and going, oh my God. But then you go on and read. And if you realize you jumped the gun and accuse somebody of something that in fact they're not doing, what people of integrity do is say, oops, my bad, and take the L. I've done that plenty of times because, again, we're all libertarians. We all are suspicious, and we all jump the gun. Where the rubber meets the road is what you do after that. If you're willing to go, yep, I messed that one up. Okay, so let's give some background context here for a moment, and we're going to go back to the main screen, and I need to remove the Karen Ann Inception. So what started, why did I even ask that question? Before we even get into what I said in that thread, which completely disproves the accusations. And what the accusations are is I have this dastardly secret plan that I want to de-credential validly seated delegates that for some reason I just don't like, or my friends don't like, or I don't like the way they vote, or whatever. That's allegedly the secretly dastardly plan. And what's so funny, after it was proven that isn't in fact what that thread is about, the most dishonest person in the discussion then said, well, she must have some other plan that this is a cover for, or something to that extent. She must be sending out feelers on some other plan. So basically, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't type situation. It's a complete misrepresentation of my position. And that's what this show is about. Was my position accurately represented? Some people can disagree with my position. That's an entirely different matter. What's going on is, did these people, these little gossip mongers, these dirty, dirty smear merchants, correctly represent my position? So, how did this conversation start? Well, it started because of a question that arose on the Bylaws Committee. We have another member of the Bylaws Committee. Well, we have multiple members of the Bylaws Committee that are very interested in Robert's Rules. But we have one particular member that is studying for their RP exam. And this question came up. And the Bylaws Committee video's not ready yet. I need to put it up. But when the video is up, you will see that when the question came up, because I am chair of the Bylaws Committee, as a point of parliamentary inquiry, can a delegate, once credentialed, be de-credentialed? My answer was, and remains, an emphatic no, they cannot. And then I got some pushback as to whether or not that was in fact the case. I absolutely believed it was true then, that they cannot, and I even more so believe that now. But I did what I do every time there's a contentious question on the Bylaws Committee. I go and ask the pros. Let's go look at some other questions I asked in the past so that you can see the context here. I didn't just decide one day for no reason to post this question on the forum. As chair of the Bylaws Committee, I ask questions to be sure that I am giving the Bylaws Committee, as is my duty as Bylaws Committee chair, what I believe to be accurate information. So let's look at some other threads in the past year, which is how long the Bylaws Committee has been meeting. So up here, I think this one might be earlier. Nope, February 2023. No, this isn't one I started, so this one doesn't count. I was just participating. But notice also here the way this title is, because this is really interesting. Notice the way my title was very bland. De-credentialing convention delegates. Notice this title, Dues and Standing Rules. I want to put my video back up here. This is a professional. Oh, I didn't share my screen yet. Sorry. Hold on. Let me share my screen. I'm such a dummy. Here we go. So you can see the title here. Are you guys seeing my screen? I think you are. Hold on. Let me go back to here. Yeah, you are. Okay. I confuse myself sometimes. Let me know if you're not. So you can see here the title, Dues and Standing Rules. And over here, and again, I'm still looking in chat to make sure that you guys can see this screen, you see my very bland title, De-credentialing Convention Delegates. A lot of people got upset by this title because it was so non-committal that they thought I agreed with de-credentialing convention delegates. But this is a professional forum. This isn't a libertarian shitposting Facebook group. You don't start threads at this professional forum by going, oh my God, you can't de-credential convention delegates, can you? You don't act like that here. This is a professional forum. Now, there's no rules against it, but the culture there is that you start threads not with these outrageous titles. You just quite simply say what the thread is about without it being a leading question. Now, there are people who do that, but that's just not the culture there. So I titled the thread very bland so that people who are scrolling through the forum would know what it was about and whether they were interested in it. And as you can see, that's how Mr. Weldon Merritt also started his thread. But here's one I started. And you can see it's a bland, well, JJ started it because I asked him the question. But you can see I'm one of the first posts there. Well, here's the restrictions on a committee. It doesn't say whether there should be or there can't. And I asked him to ask this question. And you can see that I participate later on. But right here, another one. And this one I believe I started. Can a standing bylaws and rules committee propose a revision and follow up about a member submission of one? Didn't give my opinion in the title. I just asked the question. It's very bland. And you could notice that I even say, and this is back in May, this has come up in a bylaws and rules committee I am chairing. That's the context of nearly every question I asked there for the past year. And then here, specific bylaw in the nature of a rule of order. Very bland title. And notice what I said again. I am the chair of a bylaws committee in a political party. That is the context of my questions in this forum. And then here's another one. Okay, I think, yeah, JJ started this one because it came up in the bylaws committee. But we had discussed it. Postpone indefinitely in a committee. And you could see another bylaws committee member, Mike Seebeck, is participating. And I said, we have a committee meeting tonight. Again, it's in the context of a bylaws committee. Here's another one. Amending bylaws with notice when no notice, because that's an issue in our bylaws. So, as you can see, that's the context of my questions. And that gives you a good background here to my question on de-credentialing convention delegates. You can read nothing into that title except for that is the style of this committee. So now let's look at this thread and see if these accusations that I have some dastardly, sneaky plan that I want to de-credential people, if anyone can read this thread with any kind of honesty and come to the conclusion that that's my position. And let me tell you categorically up front, that is not my position. And I said so at the Bylaws Committee meeting. So here we go. This question refers to a political party where credentialing can be contentious as noted by RONR, because that is in fact said in RONR. I think it's, maybe I probably should have pulled out this reference at first, but it's funny that it does call out political parties specifically. Credentials Committee 5914. If I can find it quickly, I'll read that section. If not, we'll just move on. I just found, oh, here we go. So 5921. Cases of contested seats in a delegation will seldom arise, except in political conventions. So that's why I said that there. And I asked, after the Credentials Committee report and Delegate X is seated, outside of a disciplinary proceeding, they are disruptive, etc., or like the comment in chat where someone was drunk and causing problems, can Delegate X be unseated? Specifically, can his credentialing be rescinded? And then Josh Martin answered, and at first he said yes. JJ pushes back and says, wouldn't 35.6c apply? And I do think 35.6c applies. And he goes, let's exclude the possibility of a bylaws change, because obviously bylaws change is going to affect immediately. You can de-credential somebody through a bylaws change if it doesn't have the appropriate proviso. That's not what I was asking about. So under 35.6, actions that cannot be rescinded or amended. C, when a resignation has been acted upon, or a person has been elected to or expelled from membership or office and that person was present or has been officially notified of the action. The convention is its own body. That's why it adjourns sine die, because it doesn't have another meeting scheduled. It is a membership. That is why also in vote thresholds, where it can be a 2/3 vote, a majority with notice, or a majority of the entire membership. At a convention, what is the membership that is being referred to? It is the convention delegates. Those are the members. You cannot remove rights of members, absent a bylaw that allows you to do it, without a disciplinary proceeding. That is the only way a properly credentialed delegate can be de-credentialed. It's through a disciplinary proceeding, because they are the members of the assembly that make up that convention. That's my position. And Josh Martin gives some back and forth with JJ, but we want to go on what's my opinion here. So JJ adds back, and what Josh Martin's concern is, yeah, but what if they were seated and it was later found out that they're not qualified to be a delegate? So the qualifications to be a delegate are under the affiliate bylaws or the national bylaws. The national bylaws qualifications are really simple. You either have to be a member of the state party or the national party. So that's so simple, we don't even need to get into it. Your state party can have more strict requirements. And say it's later found out that this person doesn't meet the qualifications. So that's what Josh Martin's concern is. That should never happen, because the Credentials Committee is supposed to check all that ahead of time. That's why they give their report and say that these are the people duly qualified to be delegates. Now, maybe they made a mistake and it's found out later that someone really wasn't duly qualified. So that's the rabbit trail that Josh and JJ are going down. And right here, JJ says, Adopting a credentials report does determine who is and who is not a member of the body that is meeting the convention. 35(6)(c) would apply. I agree. In the case of an error, i.e., some delegate is ineligible to serve as a delegate, a point of order would be used. And I agree, that's what you would have to raise. You would have to raise a point of order that they're ineligible. Because they're ineligible, they were never validly credentialed to begin with. It's like my alleged removal, which was determined to be void because it violated the bylaws. If an alleged delegate is not qualified, they were never a delegate to begin with, they are not de-credentialed. This would be extraordinarily rare, and again, it would have to be for an objective standard that they aren't qualified because they don't meet the requirements of the affiliate bylaws. And usually the requirements in affiliate bylaws are pretty simple. Colorado has some more complicated ones, but most of them aren't terribly complicated. So I said here, and what if there is no question at all that they are qualified? That the attempted de-credentialing is just nakedly a power move. Notice now, I am starting to reveal my hand that I think de-credentialing is dirty. It's a naked power move. And then I go on to agree with JJ. I think JJ is correct. The members of the assembly, i.e. the convention, are determined by adopting the credentials report, meaning they cannot be de-credentialed. This is so insane that people are claiming that I said the opposite. And now Josh is coming around. And then I said, but he said something interesting, where he was saying, yeah, but if it's a naked power move and you have the numbers, they could just override the chair anyway. I suppose it could make a slight difference if the assembly was very closely divided on this matter. A challenged delegate or delegation would not be able to vote on the credentials challenge, but they could potentially vote on an appeal, and I think they could. So he was saying, it would only be a slight difference, because what Josh is used to is constituent units being very small. Maybe you're talking about 10 people out of 1,000. So I wanted to make it very clear to him that we have some delegations, Texas, Florida, California, Pennsylvania, any of the top 5 that actually are quite a significant percentage of our delegates. So I used the largest delegation as an example. I said, in the organization and view, in the background of my question, it would be more than a slight difference since one delegation in particular is over 10% of the delegates. Others are close. A 10% swing is not slight. And then JJ says this isn't a challenge to a delegate. It is removing someone without a claim of ineligibility from membership. And I agree, that's completely improper. So, then Josh comes along to, I'm becoming more persuaded that JJ is correct and that a challenge may not be issued on a supplemental report unless the challenge is to new delegates being seated with that report. And I absolutely agree, because they're being initially credentialed. My initial question was about after people have been credentialed. If a member wishes to challenge a delegate approved in a prior report, the proper course of action would instead be a point of order. Absolutely agree, and it could only be on very narrow grounds, which should never occur if the Credentials Committee has done their job. And I said this as well. Thank you, Joshua. I think we are all on the same page. And then I go on to show that I'm even more extreme in favor of protecting delegations by my next question here. I have a related question, but let me know if this should be a new thread, because you raised a question on which I disagree with JJ. Oh, I thought JJ and I agree on everything. In seating new delegates, so the original credentials report, whether additional or later new ones, must a challenge be rational, i.e. based upon qualifications? In other words, can a challenge be on just anything, or does it have to be based upon eligibility? And I give this hypothetical. Or could an entire delegation be challenged on just any grounds at all? like all 100 delegates from constituent unit X are ugly and are bringing down the average attractiveness percentage of the convention. So I asked, is that a valid challenge? Okay, here's the answer, because I'll tell you later. No, it's not. The only type of challenges that I believe are valid and in order are those that at least attempt to make a bylaws argument that they're not ineligible. Otherwise, you're violating the affiliate's rights to send valid delegates. They can send 100 ugly delegates if they want to. That is not a valid challenge. My position, and I say clearly, you don't have to guess. My position is that the constituent unit, and I'm using this terminology which I know LP people don't like. They don't like thinking that the affiliates are constituent units or there's a parent body. I'm using this because this is language that everyone on the Roberts Forum would be familiar with. They're not all LP people. My position is that the constituent unit has the right to send qualified delegates, ugly or not, and that any challenge to them needs to be based on RONR or the bylaws of the constituent unit or the parent organization. Thoughts? Okay. And then I say, hey, Josh, I don't know if you saw my former question. I don't believe, absent, as you say, a later finding of disqualification, which isn't an issue in the organization I have in mind, that delegates can be de-credentialed for just any reason. So I say it plainly. Anyone claiming that I think otherwise is just lying. I do not believe that absent a later finding of disqualification, meaning they weren't eligible, that delegates can be de-credentialed for, quote, just any reason. That 99.999% of the time they are seated, that it is an abuse of power to try to do that, absent any discovery that they are not a member under minimal bylaws requirements. I say it plain as day. What my belief is, that no, unless it's determined that they're ineligible, that's what the challenge has to be based upon. Now, you can make up some bogus challenge that they're not ineligible and make up facts, and then the convention will have to determine that. But you can't move to challenge somebody because they're ugly. And Joshua, I'm going to read his whole answer here because I'm going to read my conclusion, but I want to read his answer because it's in conclusion to his answer. I said, thank you, Joshua. We seem to be in agreement. You are familiar with the organization because Joshua Martin, he knows the LP. It will not surprise you to learn that this discussion has been characterized as me advocating for removing delegates at any point for any reason, which is the opposite of what I believe. I came here to know good, rational answers for what principles of fairness already told me. Thank you for the discussion. My position is crystal clear. But let's read what Josh Martin had to say. I keep calling him Joshua, but I think he goes by Josh. I'm just so used to Joshua Smith, and plenty of people named Joshua, and I don't shorten people's names without their consent. So, he says, yes, I think a challenge to delegates must be rational. That is based in some manner on a claim that delegates are ineligible, were not validly selected, or are not the true and correct delegates for the delegation, true and correct delegates for the delegation. I agree. Let's go back to Reno. There were 2 challenges. I don't think there was 3. I don't think Delaware ever got challenged, but it was Massachusetts and Pennsylvania. And I actually do think those challenges were in order. I don't think they were correct, but I think they were in order. At least a colorable case was made that they weren't qualified for some reason or another, or were not the correct set of delegates. In Pennsylvania, the argument was made. It was a wrong argument, in my opinion, and that's what the convention determined, but at least was a rational, colorable argument that they were not validly elected under the laws of the state of Pennsylvania. The Massachusetts one was that we don't know who the correct affiliate is. And at that time, the Judicial Committee had not made a decision, neither had the LNC. So those 2 challenges were colorable. They were in order. I think they were incorrect, and they were ruled to be incorrect by the convention, but they were in order. It would not have been in order to say that everybody in those 2 delegations are ugly, therefore we don't want them here. Okay. A challenge that contains no grounds or no rational grounds is not in order. That doesn't necessarily mean a challenge needs to be an especially persuasive argument to be in order, and I agree. It just needs to be colorable. It is ultimately up to the assembly to determine whether the challenge has merit, but the member must at least articulate some rational basis for the challenge. And then he goes on to explain, and you can go and read RONR 5921, which deals with credentialing, and I just broke the cover again off my Roberts. Look at this. It's naked. It's topless. That's demonic. I have a topless Roberts Rules of Order here. Okay. It said, and H. Reardon said, wasn't an attempt made to remove James Weeks for stripping on the dais? I don't believe so. But that would have been valid because it would have been a disciplinary action. I would advise the chair to rule out of order challenges on frivolous grounds such as the one suggested. And the one I suggested was that that certain people were bringing down the overall attractiveness level of the convention. It also seems to be out of order in that it violates the rules of decorum. I wouldn't have gone there. Libertarian conventions get a bit rowdy. That reminds me, I want to ask on the Roberts Forum a decorum question that I had asked JJ that I think I disagree with JJ on, and I'm just curious, and it's about, I'll let everyone know here what the question is. You can't go to the mic at convention, like was attempted in Reno, where someone went to the mic and like tried to just say all these really terrible things about Joshua Smith, and it was ruled out of order as being indecorous. I actually don't think God told me would be a reason, though I tried that once and I realized I was being a jerk. That was wrong. I just got caught flat-footed and I didn't know what else to say, so I said, it doesn't matter, I could say Jesus told me. I don't think that's a reason. That is not a valid reason. Our bylaws have nothing to do with God or Jesus, and I know I did try to pull that once and I was wrong. I need to do a whole show on changing my mind and being wrong. Oh, I got a spider web that's bugging me. You got to be able to admit when you were wrong. Anyway, that was a funny meme that came out of that, though, where they had a picture of me at the mic. If someone could find this meme, I would love it because it's hilarious and has Jesus coming out of the cloud going, "Psst, I want you to raise a point of order." That was a hilarious meme. I like good owns when they're good owns, and that was a good own of me. That really was. And he says, my position, and he said that he agreed, and he says, that a member cannot spontaneously raise a challenge to a seated delegate, and so on and so forth. Okay, you all can go and read this. So it says, at the same time, it's also crucial to understand that any challenge to a delegate must be brought on at least purportedly legitimate grounds. And God told me so is not a purportedly legitimate ground. He's using the word purportedly where I was using the term colorable. Okay, so anyone can go to this thread and see how I've been grossly misrepresented in these various Facebook just complete cesspool groups, and that's why I don't do Facebook any longer. So, in case anyone was unclear at this point, I don't care who agrees with me or not, and some people disagree. My position is that once a delegate is seated, they cannot be de-credentialed. The only way they can no longer be a delegate is if they were found later to be ineligible, and that is a failure of the Credentials Committee not to discover that. But if they were in fact ineligible, they were never a delegate to begin with. We are talking about something that should never happen. But no, somebody cannot be just de-credentialed because you don't like what caucus they're in. You don't like the way they'd been voting. You think they're ugly. You don't like their clothes. You don't like the color of whatever it might be. So I hope I am crystal clear on that. And I go even further than that. I don't even think in the initial credentialing report that you can be challenged on anything other than bylaws qualifications. That is it. That is my position. I am very zealous to protect the rights of delegations, whether I like who those delegations are or not, whether every single one of them would vote in a way that I disagree with or not. That is not how you decide things. So this is not really a show I wanted to do tonight, but here we are. I'm going to stick around for a few moments to see if there is, if there are any additional questions. I'm thinking about later tonight, since I bothered to put makeup on for you bitches. I'm wondering, there was a Matt Walsh show I wanted to do, but I forgot what I was going to say. I'm getting old. Oh, but Wayne made dinner. And I'm getting hungry, so I might do it, but I get really terrible stomach aches after I eat, so I don't know. Maybe I will come down and do a Matt Walsh show. Otherwise, it'll be tomorrow. And I hope this cleared things up. And I got Mike, this is such an awesome glass. Wayne is like so super jealous of it. What's great about this glass is not just that it's pink, but it's got this wonderful texture. With my autism, I'm very like into textures, and this is just the texture I love. And it's got my sangria in it. So that will be it for this evening. I hope you do share this to anyone who is confused on this issue and needs some clarity about where I stand. But why did I ask the question even to begin with? To do my duty as bylaws committee chair. This had really nothing to do with me being LNC secretary in the slightest. I was trying to give accurate information to the bylaws committee, which again, once that video goes up, because I need to upload it to the historical committee channel. Once that video goes up, it'll be really obvious that this is where this came from. It had absolutely nothing to do with being on the LNC. Nothing at all. It was just me doing my due diligence as bylaws committee chair. Okay, and everyone is asking, yes, I am feeling better. I think I still like have the crud feeling from the flu. I'm very tired. But I don't have the flu, if that makes sense. I think I'm feeling the after effects on my body, but I'm feeling much better, so I should be back to doing shows. I wish I had my camera here so I could show you something, because I always forget it. I've got it. I'll show you the note. My camera's up here. Mike can visualize my studio very well. I know it's hard for a lot of you. So the camera's up there. I got this note because when I watch my videos back, I'm always looking here or there. And I never look up. I never do. It's right up here on my monitor next to my camera. Look up. I should be talking right there, but I never am talking right there. I'm always looking down. So I'll put look up. I'm going to put my look up button. My look up postie that does absolutely no good. Up top here. So you guys got a little bit of Cultivar O&R, a little bit of LP Inside Baseball, and a little bit of me, of Mama, bringing the receipts. Okay, I hope you have an awesome night. Mi guapas de libertad, and yes, I do need to update my closing screen. I do have a new patron. Thank you.
what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business, not because they want to